Hello, Internet. I'm Corion, your witch in residence here on YouTube. And I just got back from watching a revival of Revenge of the Sith. Now, for those who have forgotten, it's Star Wars, the third episode of it. This is the last of the prequel movies. And I feel that this movie has an interesting place we can take it. Um, and I want to get to there. But before we do, I just wanted to remind everybody, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Leave a like and a comment, because that stuff really helps out the channel, and I would really appreciate it. All right, now let's start with something simple to kind of frame where I want to take this. What is a classical Greek tragedy? Okay, now a Greek tragedy is a dramatic story where a great hero falls to a combination of fate, personal flaws, and external forces. Okay? Um, all Greek tragic heroes have a tragic flaw of some sort: excessive pride, ambition, anger, that sort of thing. They also have hubris, which is arrogance. Okay? Especially before the gods or before fate, right? They believe themselves so far beyond it that they can't possibly be hurt by these things. Okay, there is perceptra, which is a sudden reversal of fortune. Agronosis, a moment of critical self recognition. So basically, understanding, oh my god, I screwed up, right? Catharsis, which is an emotional release for the audience, be it either pity or fear or what have you. And the concept of fate versus free will, right? Often the hero's downfall is fated, but their choices could still matter here. They could still pull out of this. Okay? Now, the typical Greek tragedy is shaped like this: it starts with a hero that's admired by everyone. Then the hero makes a critical mistake, often driven by their tragic flaw, right? External pressures and manipulations amplify this hero's flaw. There's a fall from grace, often involving death or ruin of some kind. And the audience experiences catharsis. It's a sadness, but it's also understanding of the tragedy. Okay? Now, the reason why I bring this up is I feel that Revenge of the Sith is a Greek tragedy playing out in a sci-fi feel. Now, you'll often see in science fiction movies, they take a existing style of a movie or a show or what have you and put it into a sci-fi element to make it science fiction. So I think as a really good example, we can turn to things like Ulysses 31, which was just the story of Ulysses, but done in the 31st century, right? We can look at Battlestar Galactica as a version of Exodus, okay? There's all kinds of different examples of these things. Firefly was a science fiction story that also was a Western, right? These kind of ideas, right? Even Star Trek, I would argue, is Wagon Train to the Stars, and Deep Space Nine is like, the fort in the middle of the West in the Wild West, right? All of these are kind of built on other genres, but they fit into sci-fi because of the story they're trying to tell. Now, in this case, in Revenge of the Sith, we have Anakin Skywalker as our tragic hero, right? Anakin starts the prequels as the chosen one. He's beloved, he's talented, he's full of potential. His tragic flaw, though, is his fear of loss and his desperate desire for control, right? We see him so terrified of losing Padme that he's willing to do anything in order to keep control, right? Now, his hubris is believing that he can cheat death, right? He can outwit fate somehow and control the future with his own will. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, there's this kind of hubris is not out of the ordinary for my side of the fence, if you will. Um, often magic users get stuck in that trap of believing that they have become so talented that even they can manipulate things in such a way to get beyond fate somehow, that destiny simply just doesn't apply to them anymore. Now, we next can take a look at the role of fate and prophecy here, right? Anakin is trapped by prophecy. He's told he will bring balance, but no one truly understands how that's going to happen, right? His efforts to fulfill or avoid his fate ultimately wind up ensuring that fate happens, right? He brings balance to the Force at the end of the Darth Vader arc, if you will, by destroying the Jedi and giving the Sith an opportunity for unchecked power, like the Jedi had for for an unspecified amount of time, right? Like Oedipus and Oedipus Rex, he's trying to outmaneuver. His attempt to outmaneuver destiny actually locks him into it, right? Because he is so determined to avoid the fate of losing Padme and also deal with the fact that he's supposed to bring balance to the Force, that he winds up bringing the wrong kind of balance as far as everyone else is concerned to the Force, and kind of destroys Padme in the process, right? Now, the external forces here, I would actually argue, are Padme, okay? She is the chorus and the tempter, right? In Greek tragedy, outside forces, usually the gods or manipulation, accelerate the fall, right? Palpatine acts as a deceptive oracle or a mischievous god, whispering poison, offering false choices. And Palpatine frames the Jedi as hypocrites, increasing Anakin's confusion and mistrust, right? Now, that's, Palpatine is kind of the mover and shaker here, right? He's manipulating these forces in order to make this happen. So it's really Palpatine at fault here, but Anakin still could have chosen to do things the right way. Now, the sudden reversal here is when Anakin's life flips violently, right? He goes from Jedi Knight to Sith Lord in a single choice, which is, of course, the aiding of defeating Windu, right? He believes he's saving Padme, but his actions are actually ensuring her death. Now, his terrible realization near the end is Anakin realizes what he has become, but he feels trapped by it, right? He's literally pushed into an armor that he can't take off of his own making, really. And on Mustafar, when Padme begs him to come back, he clings to his self-delusion. But let's be honest, deep down, he knows he's screwed up. He just feels trapped by the decisions he's made. And, that final moment where Obi-Wan says, "You were the chosen one." It's not just Obi-Wan's grief. It reflects the audience's heartbreak at the waste of Anakin's promise and potential, right? Obi-Wan's call out like that in pain mirrors our own pain at watching this downfall happen. Now, the emotional release happens when we feel pity for Anakin, because his motives were human, right? I mean, they were love, they were fear, they were loss. We've all experienced those, right? And we feel fear because of how easily noble intentions can lead us to ruin, right? The old line of "the road to hell is paved with good intentions," I think applies here, right? And his transformation into Darth Vader is horrifying because it feels inevitable, right? But he also earned it. And that's part of what makes it tragic, right? Now, I do mention Oedipus or Oedipus Rex, or sometimes referred to as Oedipus the King, who tries to avoid killing his father and marrying his mother, but causes it through his attempts to escape fate. I do recommend reading it as close to the original play as you can possibly get. It's worth reading. I know it can be a little hard getting, accustomed to the classical Greek theater, but it's totally worth it here, Okay. It really is one of the backbones of Western civilization, and I really do recommend checking it out. Um, I would also recommend reading, reading some Homer. Ajax fall from honor because of wounded pride and anger. It touches right in on this as well. Same with Agamemnon, who's destroyed by the consequences of earlier choices, right? Sacrificing his daughter, much like how Anakin's early decisions damn him, right? So, what I want you to take away is Revenge of the Sith isn't just a sci fi action movie, okay? It's structured like the oldest tragedies of human storytelling. It's about how fear, love, ambition, and pride can destroy even the brightest among us, and how trying to escape that destiny can fulfill it. So, I really, really do recommend sitting down and taking this into account when you are either studying the classics to understand modern day theater or looking at what modern day theater has done to interpret those classics. This is absolutely a modern retelling of some of the oldest stories in existence, and I think that's ultimately why Star Wars matters so much to us. We often call it a space opera because it's not really sci-fi. But I would actually argue that all of Star Wars is classical Greek theater with a futuristic lean. And if you guys are interested in me exploring the rest of the Star Wars movies through that lens and how they build on the Greek tragic and Greek classical theater designs, I'd be more than willing to do that. But I do think this is something worth researching for yourselves and understanding that the reason why Star Wars is so beloved is because it's stories that we have heard since we were children, simply remixed into a modern feel. And that I think is what makes it amazing. Now, I'm going to be away for a week. I'm going to be traveling, so I may not be able to get all the new and cool stuff out for you guys, but I do promise I will do my best. Until then, guys, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.